Hi guys, I'm Dan at vintagevello.org, and today we are going to be talking about motor doping in the pro peloton and whether it still goes on. No. Anyway, glad you enjoyed that video. Do like and subscribe for it. What? You want to know more? You're not just going to take my word on it? Gah. Okay, explanation time. Okay, so obviously we are talking about hidden electric motors being used in the pro peloton to win races, especially on mountain stages or perhaps time trials. Now, reason for this video, there's been an awful lot of media kind of coverage and hype about this subject in the last couple of years, and I've read it and observed it from the sidelines. I kind of feel it's getting on my goat a little bit, so I thought I should just put in my opinions and get them out there for everyone else to shoot down in flames, because in my mind there is no motor doping in the pro peloton at all, and in fact I think there's been very little historic motor doping as well. We're going back to before 2016, before any tests were introduced by the UCI. Now, obviously here we have to talk about Greg LeMond's recent interview on the Roadman podcast. Very good. If you haven't seen it, do look it up. It's a fascinating interview, and Greg LeMond is a god. Now, when that guy says motor doping went on pre-2016, yep, have to agree there, probably did. He says he's spoken with mechanics, people like that, and my god, there's a hill here. Didn't expect this. Can I hit my electric boost button? No, haven't got one of them on this Bianchi. Never mind. So, Greg LeMond says that they were motor doping back in the day. If he says they were doing it, they were almost certainly doing it. The man is a god. Now, I don't know people in the pro peloton then and now in the same way Greg LeMond does. I know a handful. I have reached out to them and I have asked, and most of the answers came back no, hell no, and one possibly don't know. But that's all the insider knowledge. So what we're going to do here is we're going to have a look at some of the much vaunted facts we see on the internet. Now, I've got to be honest here, I kind of feel a bit dirty defending allegations of cheating from the pro peloton, and I think that's pretty obvious. It's cycling, it's pro cycling. We have a rich history of cheating in any way, shape possible. We've been doing it since we first started professionally riding. And I did a doping video on that last year before, so do watch that for my opinions and views on doping and general cheating within cycling. Yeah, I'm not sure why, but I still feel, even though I genuinely believe there is no motor doping in the pro peloton, I still feel a little bit dirty defending them. And I shouldn't, because we're all free to say whatever we think, but for some reason, because of the history, it's just how we feel. And I would also say it's a lot easier to accuse than defend, in my opinion. But Dan, hey, loads of riders have been caught with e-bike motors, so they must all be doing it. Alright, let's just deal with this one quickly. To date, there has been one elite cyclist caught with a hidden electric motor, and that's Femke van den Dijk, a Belgian cyclist, probably horrendous pronunciation by the way, but she's a Belgian cyclocross rider who was caught with a hidden 5-axis assist motor in her bike. Bang to rights, only one, no one else. Really, no one. There has been no one else in the pro peloton caught with an electric motor. You know, as facts go, there have been thousands of x-rays of pro bikes during grand tours and stage races, and no one has been found to have one. Now, Admittedly, at some races the X-ray machine isn't there, they resort to the tablets, but I don't think just because, you know, they spot that the X-ray machine hasn't rocked up to an event that they're all cracking out their old 5-axis assist motors. I just don't think that's a real possibility at all, but hey, just my opinion. But hey Dan, we've all seen that video of Ryder Hysjerdal crashing and his bike going mad and spinning across the road. That must be true evidence of motor doping. Alright, let's just talk about... Joking. Alright, let's touch on Ryder Hysjerdal's infamous crash. I think it was at the 2014 Vuelta. Fast downhill crash, he comes off and his rear wheel is certainly spinning very fast, and it looks like it's kind of out of control and doing strange things on the bike. Now, at first glance, it looks like some form of motor. However, if you know the tech, back then it could only have been, if it was anything, a 5-axis assist motor, and that directly drives the cranks. And because it's directly driving the cranks, the pedals would have to be moving. And it's quite clear, if you look carefully, when he goes down, his cranks are no longer moving. He's not pedaling, but his back wheel's going mad. And that shows that there's no motor effect on that back wheel. However, that phenomenon of an out of control back wheel is not new. There's documented cases at pro races of it happening back in the 70s and 80s as well. It's just very, very rare, but it does happen. And it's to do with downhill inertia and speed and doing strange things, but it's very rare. But of course you see it on a video, must be cheating, but it really isn't. Go back, watch the Hysjerdal video carefully, you'll see what I mean. But Dan, we know there have been checks since 2016, but you know, Apple tablets, X-rays, come on, they can't find anything. So the way the UCI have gone about detecting hidden motors in the Pro Peloton initially was like iPads with like heat sensor programs on there. They would wave around, especially the bottom bracket junction of a bike, and that would show up via a heat signature if there was an e-bike motor in there. Certainly it would show if the e-bike motor's been used, it would show there would be latent heat, it would definitely show. If it hasn't been used, I doubt it would probably be shown, and that's probably why people have trashed the idea that they would do it. They certainly do work if you've been using an e-bike motor and been trying to hide it recently and then they wave that around, it's going to show it, but not the most effective overall of things. However, the big mobile X-ray machine that X-rays the whole bike, now that really works. I've seen plenty of images of mocked up bikes with motors in. It's really obvious. You can definitely see a hidden motor anywhere on a bike. Doesn't have to just be some form of assist motor in the seat tube, could be on any of the hubs, anywhere. You would definitely see that, and they drag that thing around to most of the pro races, and yeah, they've done thousands of X-rays, thousands upon thousands, and they have found nothing. Now, just because it doesn't show up at a race doesn't mean to say, well, that could be doping, motor doping. You don't know that. You can't say that for definite. It's not being done. You know, the idea that, you know, oh, hang on a moment, we've just spotted the X-ray machine's not here, but quick, grab out those old 5-axis assists or something like that, and we'll get motor doping because we can get away with it. They can still wave the tablets around, everyone's got those, very easy to spot if someone is actually doing something a bit suspect. So the fact that the X-ray machine is in every race is not evidence that they're motor doping. But hey Dan, there's this guy on the internet who explains how there's these new super micro teeny tiny motors, and shh, it's all a big secret. No one must know. So let's talk about this much vaunted secret tech that is going on inside pro bikes allegedly today. Now, let's rewind a few years ago. Obviously, we're all familiar with the 5-axis assist system. So effective was the Vivax assist system that in the biggest growth market, e-bikes, in the bicycle industry, they went bankrupt a few years ago. That's how impressive the Vivax machine is. Now, more recently, go back 4 or 5 years ago, there was this rumour about hidden electromagnetic motors cast into the rims of carbon wheels. Now, that rumour went away because it just didn't exist. One company did kind of try and make something, but you have to have a whole shroud over the back wheel, a bit like a giant mud guard. That's the only way it works. There was rumour that you could fit these electromagnetic things on brake blocks and hide them that way. Now seriously, hiding electromagnetic parts in brake blocks is just like, if that's what you're trying to explain it, just forget it. That's just ridiculous. Also, teeny tiny motors. We're going to encounter on the internet lots of very important sounding scientists with bits of remote controlled car batteries and teeny tiny motors in front of them. Now, for sure, some of them produce a lot of power, but no torque whatsoever. You know, you take anything like that, a remote control car that could go 50 miles an hour, stop it, sit on it and see how it moves. Disastrous. It's just not going to go anywhere. That kind of tech, you know, it exists, but it doesn't work on bicycles. And the thing to remember is, would someone who develops something like that actually worked keep it quiet and just sell it to a handful of pros so it's all hidden? Hell no. E-bikes are the biggest growth area by far that the cycling industry has seen for years. That stuff would be out there. You know, you'd be able to go online and buy your Pro Shop 2000, your Nitro Surge, anything like that, hide it, put it in there. You know, beat your mates to the bus stop sign. It'll be everywhere. We'd all have them fitted. Reality is, they just don't exist. Also, you know, when you see someone professing online that some Google SketchUp is a true image of some kind of new e-bike motor, nonsense, just nonsense. If it's on Google SketchUp, someone's imagined it and made it up on their laptop. Just not real, just not true. Oh, just had to hit the Nitro Power Surge button to get past the lawnmower. No one will ever talk about hidden motors, and that the UCI will do everything possible to cover it up because they found hundreds of motors and haven't told anyone. Okay, so the Omerta. Oh, right, okay. Now this all comes from Lance Armstrong's far too cosy relationship with Hein Verbruggen back in the late 90s. And it's fair to say that definitely happened, and it is a very dark smear for the UCI. However, it didn't stop them popping everyone else. I mean, my hero, Marco Pantani, he was done in 1999. Obviously, Floyd Landis, 2 days after taking the yellow jersey at the Champs-Élysées, he gets done. Rasmussen taken out while he is wearing the yellow jersey. And then obviously, you know, Basso, everyone else, the pro cyclists who hadn't been caught up at that point, all done in the Puerto affair. And that also took out Jan Ullrich. And of course, Ullrich at the time, you know, he was Germany's darling. The impact of his loss to a doping offence was so great that there was virtually no pro cycling in Germany for 10 years. So I'm pretty sure that shows that there's not an effort by the UCI to cover this stuff up. When they find people cheating, they do put it out there. But yeah, for sure, Armstrong, not their finest hour. Everyone else, rightly done. We have to think about here. Back in 2022, the Bahrein Merida were repeatedly raided by the French police, and that was because someone had reported from within the peloton some strange clicks coming from some of their bikes, and the French gendarme got involved and multiple raids were carried out, one of the first things they went to, apart from stripping down the tech, they actually looked at the data files, the power files from the riders themselves. And the reason behind that is pretty simple. If you're climbing, a bit like I am at the moment, and let's say you're going up a mountain, it's a 10% climb, and you're doing 15 kilometers an hour at 400 watts, and then suddenly you accelerate to 20 kilometers an hour, and your power does not increase proportionately, something else has affected your speed. And it's the data files that the police now often hone in on, because it's so hard to cover it up, that when those kind of unnatural surges happen on a rider's profile, it's really obvious what they're doing. And it's worth noting that the French police ripped apart Bahrein Merida, and they found nothing, not a hint, not any suggestion of anything wrong. And that just goes to show you, when there's a big surprise set of raids like that and they find nothing, it tells you really there was nothing to find. That's definitely enough of riding and talking. It's not working at all. Now, I'm not naive. We know there's almost certainly still cheating going on in the pro peloton. Micro-dosing is definitely the area that we should be looking at, and making sure that testers can reach riders all year round is probably the key area that we really need to focus on. However, I just don't think the risk outweighs the reward for the teams. It's the number one reason why there is no motor doping. Because if someone got caught, I guarantee you that same day there will be a press conference. That team bike will be pulled apart. You'd have a press conference with bits of a team bike and bits of an e-bike motor held there for everyone to see, as everyone, probably if they're in France, is walked away to a French gendarme van and off into jail. It would be the end of the team, the manager, the mechanics, and pretty much every rider on that team. There's no coming back. You know, it's not like you got done for a handful of pills and you're waiting for a B test appeal, or it was just a rogue rider. Nothing like that. No, none of that would wash. Everyone involved would be done for. And that risk is just too great for the teams to risk trying to hide a small electric motor in a bike, which they've got to cart around for 200 odd kilometres before they can use the thing. I really think it's just not going to happen. However, I'm pretty sure some of you will have a strong opinion on this. Do put it below, but hey, come on, don't shoot a guy just for sticking his head up over the parapet and saying his piece. One thing I would also point out, for sure, David Walsh did a brilliant piece of work on Lance Armstrong. He pursued him, he found the truth, and he wrote several superb articles and a couple of brilliant books. If you haven't read them, I highly recommend you do. However, currently there are a couple of media personalities and writers who are just sounding like conspiracy theories out there. There's one guy, I'm going to look him up, Chris Marshall Bell. That guy, he's written several big pieces. He's got at least 6 podcasts on the subject, and I believe he's writing a book on it as well. And his work is full of what ifs, and you can't say for certain, and they might be. That's not what David Walsh did when he pursued Lance Armstrong. He worked on facts that he found out, whereas everyone else, it's supposition, it's conspiracy theory stuff. We don't need any more of that. We know where cheating lies. That's the kind of stuff we should be looking at. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that video. Do like and subscribe. Say something below, and we'll see where we go from here. Anyway, thanks a lot.